Update.
All right, so today I hijacked the intro.
What? I was going to hijack the intro.
You always hijack the intro.
Update. My mom got us matching pajamas.
That's what I need to talk about here.
Wait,
okay?
you were actually going to say that?
Yeah.
We are so in tune. This is amazing.
Terrifying, but not as terrifying as the matching pajamas. I want to take the listener on a journey for a second here.
Wow, okay.
They know what we look like. Imagine us in like a navy t-shirt V-neck. Sort of like a combination of like sky blue and gray.
Wait, is yours
pants.
a V-neck as well?
They're both V-neck.
Wow, I want to see you in a V-neck.
The V-neck, the pants, picture it.
Yeah.
That's as close as you're getting to seeing it.
What?
Roll the intro. Roll the intro.
That is so rude. My mom put a lot of time, effort, and money into this pajama set, and you're just gonna not ever wear it?
I made my position clear.
Mom, are you listening?
I made my position clear.
Another update.
Another update.
Hot chocolate with marshmallows.
Which
Ooh, I want it right now.
I can't believe that was your first.
Guys, we tried it. My hot chocolate with marshmallows virginity has been taken. And it was so good.
Yeah.
So
of course.
good.
You can't go wrong. I mean, hang on. Mine was so good.
No,
the one made with milk
was so good. No, the one made with
this
water.
Watered
was so
down
good.
business is not for anybody.
Guys, do you drink your hot chocolate with milk or water? Like, do you make it with hot milk or do you make it with hot water? I make it with hot water. Always have, always will. Can't change my mind about it. Eric makes his with milk. First of all, I tried it. You know, don't knock it till you try it. I tried it, didn't like it, just tastes like milk. Not a milk drinker, only in my cereal.
It just feels like the diet version of hot chocolate.
No. If you don't like milk, you make it with water. I just
drew on myself.
Also, we tried to
draw on myself. Is there pen on me?
I don't see it.
Okay, sorry.
Also, I did add frothed milk to the top. And for those that were worried, like I was, about the marshmallows being like you're going to sip a drink but then have this texture that you have to eat, they melt. They melt in the drink and it's amazing. It's literally just a cloud of marshmallows. Like the shape is there, but it disappears when you pick it up through the spoon, and then it's just this marshmallowy goodness that is not chewable. It's just like melty in your mouth. It's so good.
I'm just so glad I'm watching someone experience that.
It was so good. Time. Like I wanted to pour more and more and more marshmallows in there. There wasn't enough. It was great. So if you haven't tried marshmallows in hot chocolate, highly recommend it. No matter what you or how you make your hot chocolate, whether that's with milk or water, tastes brilliant either way, in my humble opinion. All right, let's move on.
To what?
Well, that's what I was relying on you for.
Are we going to talk about the daily video?
I'm just kidding. Yeah. Let's talk about the 2020 year in review video.
Yep. For
some context, if you guys don't know, you're going to be filled in. But Eric makes these. So Eric has decided at the beginning of the year, he decided that he was going to make a video. Sorry.
Do you want me to, elevator pitch it?
Go ahead.
I wanted to challenge myself to record a couple seconds of video every single day.
Yes.
For a whole year. It started because there's an app where you can record 1 second of video every day. But I thought that wasn't enough because it just feels like you're getting flashes of stuff rather than like a bit of a story.
Yeah.
So then I decided, okay, let's expand it to a few seconds every day.
Yeah.
We'll cut it to 1 song each month. And then basically at the end of the year, I'll have a 12-song soundtrack with 366 days, I guess, because there was a leap year.
Yeah.
Wow, worth of footage to tell the story of 2020, which was going to be us moving into New York and doing all kinds of cool stuff down there.
Yeah, me walking again.
And then it just turned into be like, in a way, an even more wild story to document because there may never be another year with this many challenges put in everyone's way.
Yeah, like you set out to document a year that you thought was going to be life-changing in a way that like geographically was going to be different, and career wise was going to be slightly different, you know, and you did set out, I mean, you did document a year that was equally as life-changing, but for the complete opposite reasons. Geographical stagnancy, career,
I mean,
flop. I don't know what else to call it. But aren't you glad you did document 2020?
I am. I think there was a point around the middle of it where it started to feel like, man, like, how do I keep making the same thing feel different? And I think that was a good challenge. Like, in a way, the challenge itself made this year more entertaining, because I was faced with the prospect of, well, I can't just watch a video that looks the same thing every day. I can't just put loads of videos of us watching Tiger King and not leaving the house for a week. I mean, it would have been an exact representation. However, the limitations that we did have, those limitations specifically of not really being allowed to leave the four walls that we were in, I felt like it bred more creativity for us to, one, you know how that saying is like, oh, every day's not good, but there's good in every day. Like, we made the good in every day, even though big picture wise, like, it wasn't that great of a year, in the sense that, like, we didn't get to a lot of the things that we like to do, like experience based things weren't allowed to happen. I think that you're right in the sense that it became like, obviously the video itself was supposed to be a creative challenge. So I wanted it to be like I get 30 days worth of footage, and at the end of the month, I have to figure out how to tell a story that sums up these 30 days and everything that happened and all the challenges and whatnot. And I remember back in January in New York thinking, I could just go to the subway today, but maybe I'll save that for like a boring day. And like a picture of a subway train pulling into the station is a good shot for a day where I didn't do anything. I'll just, and I mean, one, I didn't get that shot because we didn't have the opportunity, but also that was the line of thinking where whenever there was a boring day or a day where not much happened, it's pushing yourself to think. And I think in the end, that's kind of what helped get us through, where there was days where we were sat around and it was 3 o'clock and we hadn't done anything, and it's like, oh man, what are we going to show for the daily video? And then that would force us to get out and go for a walk or find something cool to put footage of, or make something cool for dinner. I think the key too with what you did, as opposed to like the 1 second a day app thing, is that it's story driven. And I think that we live to tell stories, and the fact that you didn't just take a second of every day without context, you tried to create a story around what our days were like every single day, that elevates the video as a whole. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're going to watch back and we're going to not remember what that 1 second was about, because there's context, there's a story being told throughout. Right. So that's, I guess, the first sort of context for this conversation is that we haven't seen it yet. Today is the last day of the year, which means we still have to shoot content for today. And our plan, I don't know how much of this you've done, but every time I finished a video, I'd watch it once to make sure that the version I published didn't have like a glitch. And then I wouldn't watch it again. Because what I want is on the first day of 2021 to rewatch our whole year and not remember the exact videos that I cut together. So what do you think you might get when we sit down tomorrow and sort of like relive a year in 30 minutes? I think that when you're at the end of a year, you don't really realize in the moment that you're in how much has changed, how much you've changed. And I think that like looking back on every single day of our year will just show like the growth or the stagnancy or whatever it'll show, but it'll show some type of change from the people that we were at the beginning of the year to the people that we've
ended off with and are going into as in the next year. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm excited to see like that play out, because if we're not living in the past and we're not living in the future and we are trying to just live in the moment, then you don't remember the things that have happened to you at the beginning of the year, like the emotions. Like, maybe you remember the event, but you don't remember the emotions, the feelings, the whatever, until you rewatch the whole thing back and realize that like the person you are today is because of the person that you were at the beginning of the year, and you can watch that person on screen.
I think there's also a thing where like everyone is sort of trashing what the year was, for obvious reason. And I think that because we were committing to putting something on film, we weren't going to be filming us being like, oh man, this year sucks. And we were trying to put some kind of joy in whatever we were filming. And I think that the two things that I'm looking forward to is, firstly, the fact that I think looking back, the instinct is going to be like, this year was heavy. Yeah. But I think that when we watch back, I think there's going to be a lot more times that we're laughing while watching it back. Yeah. And there's some kind of commentary there about sort of remembering that, or at least appreciating that in the moment, all of the little things. I think the other thing that's going to be interesting is even just thinking about it now while I was editing December, and I was finding it really difficult to edit because there was so much of the same kind of content. More than ever, we were stuck inside. And it made me think back to how over the year, things got progressively more strict with the virus and what we had to do. And then it kind of, there looked like there was sort of like a hope for a second. And now it's back spiking again. And it's just going to be interesting to see, like at the beginning, before masks were even mandatory, I remember, I think it's January 28th. There's a shot of me walking through Central Park and I walked past two people wearing a mask. And I remember thinking, man, imagine if that was reality. That would be crazy. And there's probably a shot at the beginning of March before Canada even locked down where I'm coming out of the grocery store not wearing a mask. And that just seems so weird. Yeah.
I think you made a good point of mentioning that, like, not only are we going to see what I said, like the growth and stuff, but we're going to see like the beauty in this year and not like a fuck 2020 year. You know what I mean? And then also you just made a good point right there as well, about how this year is like a moment in modern history, well, like that people will be talking about. Yeah.
Like I try to understand, like, I don't know. They say when you listen to the Beatles, it's like trying to understand how groundbreaking it was because back then no one had heard that before. Yeah. Or when you think about air travel, when they could smoke on planes, or air travel before 9/11, like moments that were like a cultural shift, and people who are born right now or in 10 years or whatever aren't really going to understand how weird it was. What, like, even right now, I remember when they started putting the stickers on the floor in the grocery store. Right. And I was taking pictures of it like, well, that's kind of weird. Like, and now that's just a thing. Yeah. Like every store has these stickers everywhere. Yeah. So like I don't know what we keep and what we don't keep, but just having lived through this thing where like everyone working from home. Yeah. Like that's weird too.
It's insane. Or like an illegal gathering,
like a family
of people
meeting up is illegal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Or in soccer, when I think it was the end of May, the German league came back and we were watching them play with nobody in the stadium. Right. And how quickly we normalized to that. Yeah. Yeah. I have so many questions for the players. What do you mean?
Like, even when we watch football, like American football, I'm like, do they like it better without the fans? Do they miss the fans because of the hype? But are they in a better headspace without the fans because or maybe they're not because they can hear themselves think, where when the fans were there, they couldn't hear themselves think? Like, what do they personally think? I know, like, publicity wise, they're going to say, oh, we miss the fans and yada, yada. But like, if they're writing in their diary, what are they saying right now? Do you know what I mean?
I think there's like when the player is going through a bad streak, or like if they make a mistake, it's so much easier because you don't have all of those eyes on you in the building. Right. But the thing I've always wanted to create some kind of injectable substance where you could feel that emotion of when you score that last minute touchdown or score that game winning goal and you just get a run towards tens of thousands of people who just adore you. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. Okay. Before we move on to New Year's resolutions, which Eric has a strong opinion on, I want to talk about like New Year's Eve as a concept. And what I've done, which many people know about this, but every year for like the last 5 or 6 years, I've made it a point to make sure that my New Year's Eve reflects the way that I want to spend the next year. So like, for instance, one year I was working at a banquet hall and I said, this year, I'm not going to go out to a house party. I'm going to work on New Year's Eve because I want next year to be full of working and financial prosperity. And so I'm going to spend my New Year's Eve working because that's going to be a reflection of my next year. For instance, in 2016, going into 2017, I decided that I wanted a year in 2017 of travel and adventure and like solo discovery. And I decided I was going to get on a plane and spend New Year's Eve in the air. So I wanted to ring in the new year, in the air on a plane. I decided to get the cheapest plane. And the cheapest plane was from New York to Chicago. And I sat first class because I wanted to, live it up. And I, unfortunately didn't spend any time zones up in the air.
Like, really?
Well, the pilot thought that people wanted to get home so quick to spend New Year's at home. So the pilot drove the plane flew the plane so quickly that we landed like 30 minutes or so before the is Chicago time? Oh, before
Chicago goes an hour back.
Yeah, Eastern time. 30 minutes before Eastern time.
Oh man.
So I landed and I was live streaming and I rang in the new year in the airport, the Eastern time New Year in the airport.
So and then you went forward, it could have happened. Like if you flew east.
Yeah. And then in Chicago, they're on Central Time Zone. So it was another hour until then when I was supposed to at least be in the air for Eastern time.
Has that theory ever come true? Like, have you done a year where you felt like the thing that you performed in the year met what you did on New Year's?
That's a really great question, and I have not thought about that. But now that you bring it forward, no. It's like the opposite of what I do happens.
Oh, God. So what?
So maybe if we spend inside eating poutine, we're not going to get fat and lazy. Yeah. We're actually going to have the opposite year.
Do whatever you don't want to do.
Like, think about it.
That's
the year of travel, that year that I spent but didn't spend on a plane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could call that my year of travel if I didn't spend it on the plane like I intended.
I think the intention is
okay, fine.
Because you're not the one flying the plane. You couldn't control that.
Fine. I did spend it in an airport. That's a representation, a metaphorical representation.
Yeah.
Okay, but that year, think about what happened. Like in 2017, I went back to New York after that. And I worked in New York and I was soaring in my career. But the end of 2017, I went back, had a surgery, and then everything just went downhill from that. I was stagnant. I did not travel. I was ruining my ankle and I had a very hard time with FOMO.
This is kind of speaking to my whole thing on New Year's, isn't it? Or am I just being a buzzkill?
Wait, hold on. I have to tell you guys what I did 2017 to 2018.
Okay.
My mom and I went to New York City again.
Yeah.
And we walked, or frankly, we fast walked / slow ran to the ball drop. But obviously we couldn't get close enough. And I completely destroyed my ankle in that. And it was freezing cold. And I thought, yes, I'm going to have little moments of happiness and nothing to hold me back and no more stagnancy and whatever. And I spent all of 2018 being beaten down by eye surgeries, ankle surgeries, and not leaving the house at all whatsoever. That year was my year of self-discovery. 2018 to 2019, my mom and I decided it's not a good idea to go out this year like we did last year. So we stayed in, popped a bottle of champagne, and just kept it low key in New York City. And what did I do in 2019? I got my surgery, went back to New York City, got a job, walked again, miracles happened. That's completely the opposite of staying home and doing absolutely nothing. A lot happened in 2019. And I met you.
Right.
Like, no. It's like not, I was not at a mingling
concert.
But I was not at a mingling event being like, yes, I want my future, I want to find a boyfriend in 2019. I was completely the opposite. I was solo, well, not solo. I was with my mom in my house drinking wine, and that was it. And then 2019 to 2020, which was last year, Eric and I spent it in Niagara Falls listening to, who did we see again? Bryan Adams in Canada on a IV pump and freezing my ass off.
I'm just thinking the opposite is we were in a crowd of thousands of people.
Yeah. And then what happened in 2020? Yeah. We were alone, not able to go anywhere. I was off my IV pump and I was warm all the time.
So I like the spirit of like, oh, I'm going to be on a plane for New Year's. I don't know if this makes me like super John Lennon or not or whatnot, but like, I just feel like you shouldn't feel like you have to bind your life within calendar years. Right. So I struggle with the idea of New Year's being anything because it's not like anything important changes. Like I honestly can't do the countdown because it's like, I
don't know how I'm even dating this guy.
But it doesn't make sense. Like if it's the last 10 seconds of a hockey game and at 0, you win the cup. Yeah. I'll count that down because you're counting down to something actually happening.
Something actually happening is we're going into a new year.
I know, but a year can start whenever. If
2021 cannot start whenever.
No, it's all about phases in your life. If you're having a bad time in the middle of August, you don't have to wait until January 1st to change that.
You don't, but the countdown is to count down the actual year changing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
people have made it into something else.
You don't have to tie anything to the new year.
I agree with that.
Resolutions can start whenever. So it's just all you're doing is counting down to another day. And if that day means more than another, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you could have started it on December 20th.
I agree. I actually don't not agree with your resolution, New Year's resolution theory. I agree. I don't agree with the not counting down thing and how you have no, what's it called? No, like care for it.
I just don't, to me, okay.
Like to me, it is counting down to something. It's counting down to 2021.
At the start of the year. Mm-hmm. I think it was the 3rd when I flew to New York. Yeah. And I dropped my stuff in the apartment and I went for a walk. Yeah. And I was approaching Times Square and in the gutter was all the little confetti pieces from the celebration a few days earlier. And that was kind of like, you think about how quickly it gets real is that a few days earlier, this stuff's fluttering in the air and everyone's like, oh, wow, it's a new year. This is great. And then right away, this stuff's just in the gutter waiting to be swept up by the garbage or the street cleaners or whatever. And like that to me was like, okay, it's on you. Like you get this moment of like, okay, this is all fun and games. Yeah. But then when the confetti's in the gutter is when it's time to actually make something of that celebration moment.
Absolutely. But I do think that the countdown is a representation of just the changing of the times. Like a new year has begun. However, I do agree with you with the resolution thing, and the book that I'm writing about my ankle and blindness, I wrote the first chapter, and in the first chapter, like one of the reasons that I don't like LA is because of the no season changes. And with your birthday, with the new year, and with the season changes, you effectively have 6 times to feel like a new year has begun, or like a new phase of your life has begun, right?
Yeah.
So like that's why I mean, you could still, it doesn't need to be a season, doesn't need to be your birthday, and it doesn't need to be New Year's Eve. But I think that having that marking, that representation of like, yes, this is the time that I'm going to start something, gives people something to look forward to, and like has a day that they can feel motivated by to change their life. And that's great if it helps you start, but you have to remember that you have to continue it. You can't just start. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's great that you have a day that marks the start of something, but like you were saying, it's up to you to continue whatever you sought after on that day, whatever you started. But I do agree that New Year's Eve, if something happens to you in March and you're like, oh, I'm just going to wait till the next year, don't. Like, wait till the next season, if anything. Don't wait at all. But like, if that marker helps you, then I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just never, oh, what are you doing for New Year's was never a thing that I ever.
Oh my God.
I don't get it.
Well, if you're spending many more years with me, then we gonna be doing things. Or maybe we won't be, because everything. Do you think I should stop being like cautiously seeking out my little theory that I have about like, oh, I want to spend my New Year's. Do you think I should do that until I actually have a year that turns out the way that I spent it? Or do you think continuing to do this will just continue to have the opposite results?
I don't believe in that. Like, I'm not superstitious that way. Mm-hmm. I just feel like if that's a thing, like that you feel gives you a positive outlook, then why not do it?
Right.
I don't think like it's like, oh, I didn't wear my jersey, that's why they lost today. Like, I don't think there's a direct connection in any way.
I think I'm just like,
it's just for your own mind. I
think I'm serving that purpose that I hope everyone does, but like they're trying to create a story in their life. Like they're living a life, but they're also creating the story of their life.
Okay.
Like mine feels like each chapter. It's like the ending of each chapter and then the beginning. And it's just like, I'm trying to make this perfect story, but like a good story doesn't go perfectly. It has its challenges. What I was going to say is, sorry. So this girl that I just started following on Instagram.
What? Is this a new thing?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, but you know her. I've showed you her before.
I just don't know where this is going. So.
Okay. So this girl that I started following on Instagram, I found her through Reels actually on my like explore page or whatever. Oh. And she was showing how she directed her own wedding photos. Like basically it's like what people think I mean when I say I directed my own wedding photos. And it's like these like cliche Pinterest photos. And then she says, but what I actually did when I directed, and it's like these beautiful like drone shots and like beautiful photos of her and her husband. And I went on her page and she does so many good tutorials and beautiful photography, and like I just long for that on my Instagram. But anyways,
I'm so excited to find out. This feels like another A to C. Like we were talking about New Year's, yeah. And I have no idea where we're going, and this is great. This
girl, every year for the last 3 years, she has been posting a New Year's photo, and she has those big balloons. She makes a big set of whatever year it is. So like she started in 2018, I believe. This is just like, I just followed her this year. So this is just me like watching and just really lurking her content. But she started in 2018. She had the big 2018 balloons, and she said that she's going to assign a word to this year. So in 2018, it was like change. In 2019, she assigned growth. In 2020, she assigned innovation. And then I don't know what she's going to assign this year's word to, but it made me think of what you said earlier about Napoleon's questions or whatever.
Oh,
and how he
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill's questions.
Not
Whoopsie,
Napoleon
sorry.
Bonaparte.
No, and he said like, do you have a definitive? Do you have a definitive yearly objection or objective? God damn it!
This has been a great segment.
Yeah. So I just thought about like, wow.
Do I going forward, or did I have a definitive objective for 2020?
I think that girl. I mean, she clearly put it out there that she does have a yearly collective objective. Like this year she wants to innovate. Last year she wanted to grow.
Yeah.
What's her word for this year? So she, to me, is embodying the question of what is your yearly objective?
Right.
Do you believe in that? Because when I heard you ask that question from Napoleon, when I read her post about that, I was like, wow, this is actually like kind of cool because, you know, when you don't have focus around a project or something that you're doing, then you're kind of like all over the place, and you don't, like, when you get lost, you can't find your way back because you don't know where point B is. So you can't like get over the obstacles as effectively. I thought that was great. Like if her year, she set out to grow and that was her focus and that was her yearly objective, then she could effectively be like, okay, I need to make this difficult decision. Does this align with my yearly objective of growth, or does this keep me stagnant? And if it does keep me stagnant, then maybe I should do this instead so that I can effectively focus on my yearly objective, which was growth.
Okay.
Do you believe in that? Do you think it can change? What's your opinion? Do you have one?
Yeah, like it just, okay. In graphic design, there's Pantone colors, and long story short, it's just a way of making sure that when you get your stuff printed, it's the exact color you want. Yeah. This company, Pantone, puts out a color every year, and it's supposed to be like a symbolic umbrella for, you know, the things that are to come in the year, or the things that have happened in the year that's passed. Yeah. So this year is yellow, and yellow means something in terms of how they think the next year is going to go. Okay. Weird. In the past, I know they've used like the color of Michelle Obama's dress. Yeah. When he was first inaugurated, because it was like that was representative of hope and change and a new beginning and stuff. So that color has this symbolism imparted on it. Right. I think that's the extent of, okay, this year's word is whatever. I think it's just sort of like if you want that sort of spiritual almost thing to keep you going. So I don't necessarily connect with it that way. Oh, interesting. I kind of work more in more definitive practical goals of like actual things I want rather than a symbol or a word. So like a definitive yearly objection or I keep saying objective to you would be like, I want to have 5 clients at the end of the year. Yeah, because I feel like it's not a strong enough goal if it's too wishy-washy, like I want to grow this year. Like, what does that mean? And you have nothing to measure yourself against at the end of the year. Whereas if you say, I want this much in my bank account, then you know how close you've been to actually meeting. Obviously, it has to be realistic and achievable. You can't just say, I want to be a billionaire. But I don't think it's wishy-washy to be like, I want to grow this year. Because like growing, in my opinion, is the difference between like trying new things and seeing where they take me, and that's growing. Yeah. Where not growing, not having the objective of not growing, is like working on a thing that you're already working on. I just think it sets the bar too low and it coddles you. Interesting. Because then it's on you at the end of the year to decide. And if you're not honest with yourself, or you struggle to be honest with yourself, right, then you're going to bring your own personal success down by saying, yeah, by doing this, I grew. But maybe at the beginning of the year, you could have set a more ambitious goal. So it's easy to retrospectively say, I was successful at this, if you're not setting a definitive purpose. It's like how people talk about
not going to see a psychic because whatever they tell you, you're just going to make some excuse for in your life to connect it back to whatever they said.
Yeah, like confirmation bias.
Yeah, confirmation bias. Exactly. Okay, last thing about a reflection on the year. Do you think you've been overcautious or undercautious on certain things? This is another Napoleon Hill question, but what is your answer to that?
Have I been overcautious or undercautious?
Yeah.
So overcautious to me means have I thought too much about decisions before doing it? Mm-hmm. Undercautious means have I done things without thinking about their consequences?
Right.
I think that man.
Want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that I've been overcautious with all of my content. I feel like I've not put enough out there because I think too much about it. And the more that I think about my content, the more that I get turned off by my ideas. I think that when I have an idea, I think it's really great. And then when I let it sit for too long, it starts to mold in my head and it starts to go bad. And then I just want to throw it out and I never execute it. I think that I need to stop being overcautious about my ideas and be okay with putting out stuff that in 6 months I won't necessarily think is good anymore, because I'll be able to put more content out there and I'll be happy that I didn't regret not doing that. And instead, I won't regret what I have put out there because in my head, I regret the things that I didn't do. I don't regret the things that I've done necessarily, because the things that I've done are things that I wanted to do in that moment of time. So I can't regret that, but I do regret being overcautious about something because then it means I haven't done something, right? And I do think that in a sense, I sort of missed an opportunity. I feel like I've sort of missed an opportunity by being overcautious about my content because I could have posted more on TikTok if I just started talking to the camera and not trying to make everything a polished turd. Like I didn't make enough YouTube videos because I couldn't think of a good enough idea in my head, or I didn't post enough on Instagram because I was scared that, oh, I don't know if this photo is going to get that many likes, or I stopped posting thoughtfully written captions that I wanted to do, or I didn't even post enough of my poetry because I was like, what if this doesn't get likes and I'm just a sham and no one likes my poetry and I'm never going to make it? Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think I was overcautious in that sense. What was I undercautious in?
Every time you reached for a plate?
Absolutely. Could have been.
Lost 2?
Yeah, guys, this morning, Eric went out to get us coffees, which I thought was super thoughtful, and he was paying for them. And I thought, before he gets back with his coffee, I'm going to make breakfast. I'm going to make us bacon. I'll ask him if he wants an egg. That's easy to make when he comes back. And as the bacon was sizzling on the pan, I thought, let me get a plate so that I could put the bacon on. And as I reached for the plate, I did not see the small plate on top of it. And the small plate came down really fast, hit the counter, broke in 2. Then one of the sides of the plate stabbed my leg and then somehow bounced out of my leg after stabbing it and then stuck the landing on the ground. And I broke my second small porcelain plate, which I'm really sad about because they both came from New York City, and very sad about it.
What else are you undercautious about?
I don't know. I don't know. Can you think of something else for me?
For you, no. I've been trying to think of my answers.
Okay, do you have an overcautious answer?
Well, I have both.
I think that I've been too overcautious this year, that I've not been undercautious that much. Like, I think my overcaution caused me to not be undercautious, to not just impulsively do things.
Mm-hmm. Or nothing that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, same. I can't think of anything that I jumped into without thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I could say I shouldn't have grocery shopped the day before I flew back from New York because I had to cook like 1,000 breakfast burritos and freeze them.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of jumping into things first, I think that didn't happen because of the other thing I'm going to say, which is I think I've been overcautious with not making decisions before we had like appropriate timelines for how long it would be until normal was a thing again.
Right.
So in terms of us making a decision to leave New York, or at least stop being in that apartment, in terms of thinking about jobs and when to apply and what to apply for, all of that was initially under the idea that like, oh, it might only be 2 months before normal is a thing. It might only be, I mean, what if it's a year? Like we didn't know.
Yeah.
And if I remember back in March, we were sat there and, you know, the experts were saying this could still be around by August. And we're like, God, imagine if it was in August.
Yeah.
But if someone then was telling me, you know, it's December, it's still going to be pretty serious, I probably wouldn't have spent February still trying to apply to jobs south of the border.
Right.
Because that was never going to come to fruition. So if there's overcautious, I was probably banking on, or not banking on anything. I should have been a little bit more undercautious and just jumped into dealing with the now, understanding what is unpredictable.
Yeah. Accepting reality and then working through it, working within its limitations.
Not accepting reality, but accepting the unknown.
Right.
And just handling the unknown. I think that's the, like, because I'm not the owner of like a Fortune 500 company who needs to actually think before they pivot.
Right.
It's pretty low risk if I'm like, okay, you know what? Put that New York thing on pause. Let's just try and get a job here.
Right. Okay. So we're not going to get into ringing in the new year and what we like goal setting for 2021 and all of the things that we want to accomplish in this episode. We will do that next week. But Eric, do you have a question of the day or the week?
I was going to say if someone, like if you could go back and tell like today is December 31st.
Yeah.
If you could go back to yourself on December 31st, 2019 and tell them all of these things are going to happen in 2020.
Yeah.
How do you think things would be different? With how you carry yourself through the year?
I think that I would have told myself to just let it be, like stop worrying about timelines and just create the things that you want to create in the moment. I think that that's what I've now realized at the end of the year is that I still have goals that I want to set out to achieve, but I'm less worried about the timeline of those things. I'm more worried about if I'm actually doing the things that I want to do. Like, I'm not worried about if my book is going to sell 200 copies. I'm worried about, am I going to write my next book? Do you know what I mean? Like, spend time to do those things instead of worrying so much about chasing the next thing or chasing something. Like, just spend time in the moment doing those things because you have time. Yeah, I think that's what I would have told myself. Like, you're in this for the long haul, so act like it. I feel like I live life a little bit erratically in the sense that, not the undercautious sense, but in the sense that I don't think of life as a long thing. So I want everything now. I want it immediately. And if I'm not doing things to even bring results at any moment, if I'm not posting YouTube videos or TikTok videos, or if I'm not writing 3 or 4 books in a year, then why am I so caught up on the things that I don't have right now if I'm not even working towards bringing those things at any time? Do you know what I mean? Like, even with my ankle, I'm so hard on the fact that like there could be more that I could be doing and I could be doing this when I've actually, if I sat back, I've done most of the things that I could do. It's out of my hands. I need to stop worrying about that timeline and just know, or just trust in the timeline itself. Like, trust that maybe if I had gone in 2 months earlier to get a surgery that I had decided upon miraculously, it could have turned out in a different way. Maybe I could have contracted COVID and then not lived through that. Maybe I could have done the wrong procedure without doing my due diligence. Like, I just have to trust in the timing that is being presented to me, I think. What about you?
Yeah, I think sort of on the back of that, abandoning timing and using projections or forecasts as guidance, but not a rule.
Yeah.
I think if I, like I was saying before, if I knew this was going to be a long-term thing and not just a couple months on pause, I might have made a few pivot decisions quicker.
Yeah.
Rather than holding on to some kind of hope that this was just a phase, rather than this is a cultural shifting moment.
Right.
I will say that I'm in a way glad we went into it the way we did, because I think that especially, and something I'm looking forward to seeing when we watch the video tomorrow, is seeing how really in the end it was all the little things that got us through it. Even living in a hospital and seeing how we could make the most out of that, like the little breakfast sandwich run in the morning to
or the
pick
lobster.
up from your mom. But that was last year.
Oh yeah,
that was 2019.
Yeah,
but
I still think about that though.
Just sort of again driven by having to find that 1 second or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I think keeping that at the forefront and sort of carrying that forward really brings it down to not trying to think about whether what you're doing right now informs a long-term goal.
Yeah.
And just thinking about fulfilling whatever purpose is right now. So the definitive thing is to have, like, do something right now that contributes to the future, but also not lose the fact that what you're doing right now should also be memorable for its own sake.
Exactly. It's equally important. Like, if you died tomorrow, are you happy with the life you've already lived? And like, I think that's my issue, is that I'm always looking for the macro, that I'm not even enjoying the micro. Like, I'm not enjoying the day to day, because if I died tomorrow, I would be thinking, oh, I didn't accomplish everything that I wanted to do. And
that's the whole thing, is that I feel like the thing that shook us at first was there was no macro, because you can't count on when that is. Yeah. We have tickets for a concert that may never happen. Yeah, I know. So because we can't count on the future, all you have is the now. Right. Which kind of in a way is like, I don't know if it's like hippie living or whatnot, but it's whatever you're doing today is all that really matters. Yeah, it's true. We don't really have anything on the horizon that you typically would. Right. So write that book, make that video, eat that brownie. Eat that brownie. Yeah. I thought we weren't going to go into 2021 trying to. Okay. What are we doing tonight? Let's end it off. Eat that poutine. Yeah. Guys, tonight, sadly for me, not for Eric, sadly for me, we're going to be in-house eating poutine. Sorry, we're Canadian. What would you rather do? I would rather be out enjoying fireworks or something. The only place I would have wanted to go is Times Square. Or like being all dressed up, going to like some event. Yeah, I don't know. People do that, don't they? Ah, yes, they do. They go to like banquet halls on New Year's Eve? Yeah. Eeh. Anyways. Like 200 people counting down? I don't really... Oh. No, but listen, I don't care about like a banquet hall. I just mean like dressing up and like going on a boat ride in the midnight oil with a candlelight. The midnight oil. Dinner. Like, do you know something like romantic to bring in the new year? Of course you do. But anyways, it's so romantic that we're eating poutine, sitting on a couch. Maybe I'll dress up. Just kidding. None of my clothes fit me. So, what are you guys doing tonight? Pyro, and there's no pyro, so the night's ruined. True. What are you guys doing tonight? Text in.
And what was the question again? Oh, what would you tell yourself a year ago if you knew how 2020 was going to play out? Let us know. And
watch the video, I'm hoping, tomorrow.
Yes. And we don't know what channel that will be on, but if you follow me on Instagram, I shall promote it there. It'll be a YouTube video and it won't be on my channel.
YouTube allows it.
Oh, it might be on my channel. Yeah. All right. So just keep an eye out for that yearly video and see ya.